A railroad construction worker named Phineas Gage was working in the field. Phineas, who was a very talented and hardworking person liked by all his colleagues, was clearing rocky hillsides with his team using explosives. For this, they had to make a hole in a rock, fill it with gunpowder, pack it with sand, and then detonate it from a distance. But that evening, when Phineas was putting gunpowder into a hole he had drilled in the rock, he forgot to cover the hole with sand. As a result, the gunpowder inside the hole accidentally came into contact with his iron rod, and due to the friction, a spark was generated, causing the gunpowder to explode. In the blink of an eye, the rod shot out due to the explosion, tearing through Phineas and landing 80 feet away. But the rod didn't exit just anywhere, it entered through the lower part of Phineas's cheekbone and exited from the top of his head, in such a way that any ordinary person would think that this is game over right away. But in reality, within just 3 minutes, Phineas regained consciousness and walked over to his carriage. After that, he chatted with the driver and reached the nearest hospital. As soon as he reached the hospital, he jokingly said to the doctor, "Doctor, it looks like you've got a lot of work today." He told the whole story to the doctor, and the doctor took notes, which we'll discuss in a moment. At first, the doctor wasn't even willing to believe it, but seeing the seriousness of the patient, he was immediately admitted. And in the case notes written by the doctor, it was recorded that the patient was vomiting blood, in which small fragments of his brain could be seen. Just hearing that makes you feel a certain way, right? But this was the reality of Phineas. No one could say how this man survived or whether he would continue to survive in the future. Within just a few days, Phineas slipped into a coma, and then another miracle happened to him. He regained consciousness from the coma, but in this process, he completely lost his left eye. Just 2 months later, he started to return to how he was before. But in reality, he was no longer the same as before. I mean, he looked just as healthy as before, but anyone who knew him earlier could tell that his behavior was no longer the same. The Phineas, whom everyone liked and respected, had undergone a drastic change in personality and behavior. So much so that even his close ones could not recognize him. And that's why he was also fired from his railroad construction job. Those who knew him before reported that Phineas had become much more aggressive. He would get angry over the smallest things and would use the foulest language. According to his wife, he didn't even hesitate to raise his hand against her when he got angry. All these symptoms pointed to a deeper problem that wasn't visible on the surface. Phineas's personality had completely changed. He was no longer the person he used to be. How did this happen? Well, the doctors provided an explanation for this. Initially, it was believed that both hemispheres of Phineas's brain had been damaged. But later, when research was conducted at Harvard University, a simulation of the incident was created, and it was discovered that not both, but only the right hemisphere of Phineas's brain had been damaged. They came up with many possible combinations of how the rod could have pierced his brain, and in only a few select combinations would he have survived. So Phineas was truly very lucky. And because the rod had pierced his prefrontal cortex, the changes in his behavior can be completely explained. The prefrontal cortex is the part of our brain where our ego, logic, and the ability to think complex thoughts reside. Basically, our personality resides here, and because this part was damaged, Phineas was no longer truly Phineas. Due to behavioral problems, he became isolated and no one wanted to be around him. At first, he traveled from place to place. He would earn money by telling people his story and showing them his wounds. But within a few days, this source of income also dried up. Because of this, he set off for Chile in South America to start a new life. There, to make a living, he began driving stagecoaches. Now, here's something interesting. Driving a stagecoach is not that easy. It requires the use of many different parts of the brain. In the beginning, it was very difficult for Phineas to learn this. But as he kept learning, something strange started to happen. The remaining neurons in other parts of his brain began to take over the functions of the neurons that had been destroyed in the accident. And because of this, he was able to drive stagecoaches. Now, obviously, he was never able to fully recover for the rest of his life. But according to scientists, it was nothing short of a miracle that he was able to learn such difficult skills. A South American doctor who treated Phineas later reported that he had become quite good-natured. He was happy and always full of enthusiasm. No serious problems were observed in him. But just a few years later, 12 years after the day of the accident, Phineas died due to epileptic seizures. the cause of this seizure was attributed to his brain injury. A 3.5-foot long rod had passed straight through this man's head at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour, and even after that he managed to live for another 12 years. This case is the most unusual among all medical cases to date. This case provided us with a lot of new information about our brain at that time and made it possible to learn so many new things. And it is on the basis of this knowledge that neuroscience and medical science have been able to mature to a great extent. So friends, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you liked it and definitely learned something new from it. So friends, just answer one question with complete honesty after hearing this story. Do you think something like this can really happen or not? Be sure to let us know in the comments. We'd love to find out.